and welcome to this episode of Little Big Knits. My name is Selma and I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada, where we have some wonderful summer heat happening these days. And I live here with my family and our cat Yoda. So welcome new viewers and welcome everybody who is back. Thank you for joining me today in my living room. Welcome. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about knitting and knitting inspiration today. So, before we start, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. We have the Scrappy Stashy Mal going on in the Little Big Knits group on Ravelry, as well as the hashtag Scrappy Stashy Mal on Instagram as well. So lots of action there, lots of great stashy projects, and it's going strong and it goes until the end of the year. So this is where you make things with, either leftovers of previous projects or fabric, yarn, thread that has been in your stash since before end of December 2020. So it's been in there for 2.5 years waiting to become something. So that is one of the make-alongs that we have. The other one is the Nordic KAL, the LBK Nordic KAL. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later, but that is where we knit with either with yarns or designs that were created by Nordic people from Nordic countries. So that would be Finland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, Faroe Islands, and Åland, I believe. Yes. So there you go. Also want to mention, you may have seen a post about a week ago or so about a knitting retreat in New Mexico. So I think we probably should have talked about it a little bit earlier, but my friend Lauren and I are co-hosting a hiking and knitting retreat at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. Very, very excited about this, I must say. Two things that I enjoy very much are walking and knitting. So and Lauren has hosted knitting retreats in the past. And so she was talking about wanting to host a retreat, and we came up with this idea. So the retreat will be a combination of some walking, not intense hiking, just some nice walking in the hills around Ghost Ranch. And I will be giving a workshop, sort of a little bits every day on sweater modification. So there are a few spots left. If you happen to be interested in this, it will be taking place it's 3 nights and it's during the week. So it's taking place October 16th to the 20th, I believe, whatever that week, just before the weekend of Rhinebeck. So somebody could literally come to the retreat and then fly off to Rhinebeck. It sounds like a pretty perfect week, I must say. So anyway, I will link below. If you type in knitting New Mexico, it won't come up in the search engines. I guess there's something that we haven't quite gotten right with the website. But I will put the link below. So if you want to check it out, check out the prices, check out what it will be like, feel free to do so, and maybe you'll actually join us. All right. Let's get on with the knitting. I think I've gotten through all the administrati. So actually I lied. I hadn't brought my notebook with me, and then I realized, oh yeah, I didn't talk about that. I just wanted to thank you for all the lovely comments last time, both about me, about my stupid hand, not my stupid hand, but my little accident, and my repetitive strain syndrome it's starting to subside a little bit, and also about the fact that my mother was in the hospital. So thank you very much, and I'll give you an update on that later, as well as all the suggestions for my tea cozy. I really appreciated that. That was really wonderful. So yeah, And the other thing I just want to mention, if you wanted to support this channel, the link for my Ko-fi page or coffee page is down below, so feel free to check that out as well. All right, let's get on to the knitting. So I have a finished object for you, which I happen to be wearing. So I give you 3 guesses to guess what this is. This is the Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, who is a lovely designer of this ubiquitous pattern. It's just been made by so many people, and it's just a lovely, oops, I thought I had something. It's a lovely pattern. How many have I made? I think I've lost track. I think this is my 5th one for myself. And I've made 2 for other people. And this is my first one making a summer version. So I'll tell you all about what I did with this. Really, really very happy with it. Again, when I was knitting it, it's so funny because sometimes, excuse the family noises upstairs. Sometimes when you're making a pattern, you wonder, how am I gonna like this? And I was really wondering how I would like the very transparent nature of this. As you can see, you can really see my camisole underneath. But I think I actually like it. And I thought, you know, I can wear it with black, I can wear it with white, I could wear it with purple or gray. It could go with so many colors. And it's great because Ottawa actually gets very hot and humid. We live in a very humid area. And so sometimes if it's 25 Celsius, it actually feels more like 32 Celsius. And it can be very hot and heavy. I have to wear my hair up at that time because I cannot stand it touching my neck because you're just sweaty. So having something really light like this is actually really nice. So let me tell you first about the yarn. So this yarn is the lovely BC Garn Lino, which is a 100% linen yarn that is 2-ply by BC Garn. And this was a lovely gift from Smita, who is the owner of the Your Next Yarn shop, which is an online shop out of BC. And she had contacted me and asked me if she could give me some yarn. And I was very happy to get this. Now, I had thought I would use way more yarn. So I said, you know, give me 3 or 4 skeins of yarn and then I'll figure out what to do with it. So when she sent me 4, I thought, oh, for sure a sweater. And I thought I would probably use some of the 4th skein at least for this sweater. But in fact, this used less than 3 skeins. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So I would say that it probably used about 400 yards of the linen. And it was a lovely linen to work with if you enjoy working with linen. I know that there are people who struggle with linen and cotton because they are so hard. I have to say that that's not something that I've usually had an issue with, although I do think that the corn cardigan actually ended up creating the repetitive strain here because I was knitting a lot. I was on vacation, I was knitting a lot, it was cotton and it was lace. I think that combination of things where I was knitting more than I normally would contributed to that. But normally I haven't had any issues with it. I really enjoyed this yarn, came in this beautiful, beautiful lavender color. And just before I forget, the Smita of Your Next Knit is giving the Little Big Knits and Selma Knits followers on Instagram a discount code of 15%. So if you want to check her website out, there will be a link below and you can use the code SELMA15 should you decide to purchase something and get a 15% discount. So that is it about the yarn. The next thing I want to tell you a little bit is, first of all, I used 5.5 millimeter needles. The pattern calls for 6 millimeter needles, but I decided that I would probably want to make a slightly bigger size and use smaller needles. So I would normally make the original size, which was size 2 in the pattern, and all the sizes have the same beginning, which is really wonderful because basically You start the sweater and you can decide the size of your sweater once you get to the raglan increases. So that's what I did. I thought, I'm going to wait and see how I feel about this. I probably could have made the size 2 actually, because there's quite a bit of ease here, but I really like it. And I like the fact that it's just this really airy and flowy thing. So yeah, and then a little technical piece on here. I learned to do the magic join recently. I had never done the magic join before, so I'm just getting my tea ready here. I learned it when I just started my crochet blanket recently. And I don't know what took me so long to learn that, because it really is fabulous. And so I used the magic join to join the 3 balls of yarn for this sweater. As I said, I used about 2.7 balls of this yarn. So I used the magic knot to join the yarn, and it worked really, really well. You know, because it's such a loose fitting piece, you would never even have a sense of where, you know, it does create a tiny little knot in your knitting, but with this piece, I don't think that that would make a huge difference at all. And then with regards to sewing in ends, I've developed a system over the last couple of years, well, not last years, the last few years, when I've knit with linen cotton, because I have had garments in the past where I have sewn in the ends, and then especially linen garments, and then a little while later, they start unraveling. The ends start coming out. And I think especially linen, but it could happen with cotton as well. So now what I do is I sew in my ends as I normally would, but I leave a tail and I unravel the plies of the yarn, and I'll put one through a loop and then tie them in a knot. And that helps to secure and then just cut, you know, so that there's just a little end sticking out. And I find that that definitely keeps it. Unraveling the threads is, or even from the very beginning, you could do that and weave the two or 3 ends separately, or weave them beside each other and then tie them in a knot somewhere, and that'll be way more secure. Because I was a little irritated when that happened, so I didn't want that to happen again. So that's what I've done over the last few years as far as weaving in ends for linen and cotton. So let me show you the sweater. Obviously, I made a short sleeve version. I did knit like 4 rows and then did, I think, 4 or 5 rows of ribbing on the sleeves. And I just did it as per the pattern for the long sleeve and then just stopped. I didn't do anything different here, except that I always cast on with the 60 stitches and with a long tail cast on. I don't do the tubular cast on recommended in there, and I do my long tail cast on with 2 needles held together. I talked about that a couple of episodes ago, so it does create a little bit more openness. And then I just went down the sweater, and then I decided to do something a little different, and I decided to do a split hem. So I actually knit this to, I think, 9 inches. It has lengthened a little bit with blocking, and then I literally just did a 1x1 ribbing. Now, one thing about this is that I tend to do a regular 1x1 ribbing. In the pattern, it calls for a twisted, and I don't like twisted rib that much. I think it has its place, but I just do an ordinary rib here. And somebody asked me how I did the split hem. Like, you literally just, when you're going to start the ribbing, you literally just do the ribbing on half of it, keep the others on hold, finish the ribbing, bind off, and then go back and do it. As you can see that it's quite open there on the side, but I thought that for a super flowy linen version of the sweater, I thought that could be kind of fun. So there you go. That is my one finished object. I think I've told you everything I wanted to tell you about it, so there you go. Just gonna have a sip of my tea, which is in this lovely mug that was given to me by a viewer of the podcast, and with some jams and some yarns. So I'm enjoying a cup of AM Detox by Tealish. Tealish is a Toronto-based shop. They used to have a storefront, but I understand they've now closed their storefront and they're only online. I've been drinking their teas for years. So this is a green tea morning detox, which has green tea, orange pieces, dandelion, apple, burdock, goji berry, ginger, calendula, safflower. So I'm enjoying that. All right, on to my next whip, which is almost finished. It's almost finished. I should probably wake up before I do a podcast. I really literally rolled out of bed, got myself ready, and came down here. So I am making the Tolsta, which you have seen before. And I am so very close to being finished. I'm making this out of yarn that I got from Mel of Mel Makes Stuff. It was leftovers for her. In this gray and this gray, these sort of sand and sort of a more true gray. And then I went and got some white to go with it. And these three yarns are the Katia Concept Cotton Cashmere. And then I used some of my own leftover, and I still have some left, of the Lang Lino, which I had used to make the tulip sweater last year, tulip Guernsey sweater. And I decided to put these three yarns. Now this is a worsted and these are DK, but it worked out well. And so I decided to just do a very kind of random stripes sweater. And the last time you saw it, I'm not sure that I had actually split for the sleeves or I had just split for the sleeves. I really wanted to have this finished, but I must admit that I'm knitting a little bit less than usual these days, just because in the summer there's so much going on. We've got our vegetable garden. I've been trying to give my arms a little bit of a break. So I don't have many whips for you today, actually, because this has been my most active whip. I haven't really knit on the salty air tea that I showed you last time. I've really only knit on this, and I worked on my tea cozy. So those are the two whips I'm going to show you today. But here it is. And I'm actually quite amazed by how nicely this fits. Not in terms of the fit of the sweater. I knew that it was going to be a great fitting blank canvas sweater. The Tolsta by Rebecca Clow of the Creabea. It's just a really great blank canvas. And as I said last time, she has the basic version, but she also has a fingering, this is a DK, she also has a fingering version, and then she has a document that you get where she gives different stitch patterns, different ideas. So it's a really versatile pattern, and it's been a great knit, and the shaping on the sleeves is really nice, a little bit different than just a traditional raglan shaping. There's some short row shaping around the neck to bring down the front and bring up the back. And yeah, so I think I was around here, but I had not put in this peach stripe, and I had decided that I wanted something between these two grays. So I ripped back, added a peach stripe. I really wanted the dark gray to go across my breasts and you know, and the sort of the apex of the breast. And I don't know why, but I really wanted a stripe section underneath it. I have no idea, but I did it and it worked out well. And I've decided to do a split hem on this one too. And I decided before finishing the hem completely to finish the sleeves. So last night I had a quiet evening, which was really nice. I really needed a quiet evening. It actually turned out well. I had plans and they fell through. And then I thought that's okay because I really need a quiet evening. It's been an intense month for me. And so I watched Crazy Stupid Love. I think that's my favorite rom-com. I'm not a big rom-com person, but I've seen that movie at least 4 times, and I just hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and I'm like, I feel like watching that tonight. Just something light and simple and fun. So I watched that, and I did the 2 sleeves. And I finished those during the movie, and I haven't even tried it on, but I wanted to do the 2 sleeves because they can lift the body a tiny bit. And when I tried this on before I did the sleeves, I was like, the body is just right, or it could be a tad short. And if that's the case, you know, I would rip back, probably add a little bit more of the sand gray, and then go back to doing the ribbing. So if it turns out that this is great and it's the right length, then I literally just have the back ribbing, and then it'll be done, and you'll see it next time on me. And I have to say, when I've tried it on, I'm like, this is fun. It's a fun sweater. I'm wearing white jeans today, so you know, it would be something to wear with white jeans or white shorts, or even blue jeans. But for me, I kind of feel like it would look good on white, or you know, some sort of a skirt. Denim skirt that I have, or something like that. So really enjoying this. I've been knitting it on 4mm needles. The pattern calls for larger needles, so I'm actually knitting a much larger size than I would normally knit to accommodate for my difference in gauge. But I didn't want it to be too loose in terms of the gauge. And yeah, I'm glad that I did that, because that way I don't need to wear anything under it. I felt like if I did it on larger needles, it was going to be a little transparent, and I didn't really want it to be. So that's the Tolsta. It's been a lovely ride, and I'm looking forward to having this finished, and you'll see it next time. Isn't that cute? It's just really cute. I really like it. I've really enjoyed that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could see another leftover sweater at some point where you just do random stripes. And yeah, I actually got the inspiration from Ravelry, looking through the projects of the Tolsta tee. And there was one where the woman had different shades of browns that were in, you know, uneven stripes. And it looked like she was double stranding. So sometimes the stripes were marled and sometimes they weren't. And I thought, that's really fun and flattering, and a great way to use up these yarns. As you saw, I still have little bits, so they may go into a pile to become another one. And actually thought that I've got so many linen leftovers that maybe I needed to make a linen striped sweater at some point, which would have lots of ends to weave in, because this one certainly does. The other thing I wanted to tell you about this is the striping. So I was asked, you know, how I did the striping, and I have to say I have struggled to incorporate the jogless stripe. Now, first of all, I haven't woven any of my ends in, so every time it looks like a complete mess here. But I've struggled to incorporate the jogless stripe, but I think I finally managed to do it, and I think the best place to illustrate it is here. And really what you are doing is, when you get to the second row of the new color, you're slipping the first stitch of the next row. And that helps to create it. I think there are other methods as well, but that's a simple method and it works well enough. But I have all these ends to weave in. So once I have determined that this is the good length, hopefully I do, so I don't have to rip back, and I finish that, then it'll be probably an evening of sewing in the ends and then blocking it, and then Bob's your uncle. And the Tolsta's my sweater. So that's been my main whip. As I said, knitting a little less, so not accomplishing as much as I normally would. The other thing that I did do this month, though, is that I did a bit of swatching. So I told you that in June it was my birthday, and in early July I met with a few friends, knitting friends, and I got some lovely gifts, and one of them is this gorgeous, gorgeous bag that my friend Sue made, and I'll show the rest of the things that I received from Sue and others. But I got this lovely, lovely bicycle bag with other little notions inside, but as well as these. I have finally started using these, what do you call these, needle holders. Jana of Kettunits had given me some when I was in Finland, and they were being used on the Tolsta, and I'm really enjoying this concept at this point. It took me a while to get into it, but I love it. So I did a little swatch on, I think 3mm needles, but I actually don't remember. Did I even? Yeah. Just with this blue color from Knitting for Olive in the Pure Silk base. I just wanted to do a swatch to see how do I like this and what do I make with it. Not sure that I'm going to cast anything on this year, but I think I will take notes about what I did with it and determine. I think this year, after I finish the Tolsta, I'll be working on my Salty Air Tea. I'm itching to cast something else on, and I really want to cast the Anchor Sweater Summer Tea version, which is a fingering weight version. I'm really itching to cast that on. And I also wanted to do the Tankar by Annina. So we'll see what ends up getting cast on, but I really don't know that I'll finish either one of those. I'm going to aim to finish the Salty Air Tea before the fall comes. I'll just show you the Salty Air Tea again just so you see it, but I have literally not done anything since the last time, but I'm knitting it in this beautiful Illimani Sabri yarn in this sort of natural cream color. So yeah, so the other whip is my tea cozy. I have not finished the tea cozy yet, but I'm getting very close. I'm getting very close to having finished the embroidery. I'm not 100% sure I'm finished, but I'm almost there. So you guys gave me so many fabulous ideas, so many fabulous ideas. So you may be curious, those of you who were really, were so kind to share your ideas with me, you may be curious, what did Selma do? So far, I'll just let you know, I haven't done anything more with the back. I'm actually thinking about doing some circle type things. I want to keep in the vein of what I've done in the front, if I do anything. But I'm actually thinking that I might join this. I had originally thought that I would do a blanket stitch, but if I do a blanket stitch, it's going to pinch it. So I have found another stitch. I don't know what it's called, but I'll share it with you next time. That Buku, Aruna of Buku, had showed on her, she had shown it on her Instagram as a reel, and my friend reminded me, she was like, Buku had this great stitch, you should check her out. So I did, and it's a really cool kind of S stitch. So I'll be using that to put this together. And what does the front look like? There's more noise upstairs. Here's the front. So when I showed it to you last time, I had this lovely sort of traditional sashiko wave design. And then I was actually looking online, and I found a person who sells a lot of sashiko patterns, as well as equipment like or tools like and the yarn and accessories and so forth, needles, hoops, things like that. It's called Snuggly Monkey on Etsy. And she had this one kit of sashiko, which was like a sampler, and it was all circles. And I just loved it. It was just beautiful. I'm still thinking about buying myself the kit at some point. But I was very inspired by that. And so I decided that I wanted a sun. So the sun is made with these sort of like random X's everywhere. And then I added just some subtle sun rays. And that has been that's the front of it now. So there's something, these sun rays feel very Art Nouveau to me somehow. Oops, and my son has a little bit of a bald spot there, but I don't think I'm going to go back and fix it. It is what it is. So I'm thinking that I'm going to join it before I finish tea, because I'm just struggling conceptually with it. And then I'll be going on to the lining, which you may recall was with this fabric here. So yeah, so that is the tea cozy. And in case you weren't here last time, this was actually a sweater that I had knit years ago, and I didn't wear it a lot. I had made it too long, and it was a bottom-up sweater, and it never occurred to me to cut it and shorten it. I think I didn't have the yarn anymore. In any case, then I got a stain on it, so I decided to felt it. And yeah, and there's still a lot more of the sweater left. And I've been thinking about what to do with other pieces, and I've thought about making a trivet. I have some indigo dye that I had bought actually in a bottle, and I've been thinking about dyeing it indigo blue and doing some stitching on it, making a cozy for my Bodum coffee maker. Yeah, I haven't quite decided all the different things I'll do, but this has been such a lovely, lovely foray into sashiko, into just making something out of my head. It's been great. But interestingly, I find it's a very slow process. I find, you know, I need to ponder it a lot, and then I can get going. So those are my works in progress for you this time. So I'm just going to have a brief section of acquisitions just to share what was given to me for my birthday. And then, you know, last time I shared with you some summer inspiration, especially as it related to Nordic designs, summer Nordic designs. But I had another section on there called Other Mentions that weren't Nordic, and I didn't go through it. So I thought I would go through that today. I also wanted to share regarding the Nordic KAL, the LBK Nordic KAL, I wanted to share some of my plans and what I'm intending to do as part of the KAL, because I'm really itching to get onto those. And then I'll just do a really quick little rundown of the last month for you. So let's start with some acquisitions. So I showed you the beautiful bag that my friend Sue had made for me with bicycles, and it's just a lovely sort of like 2 skein size. And there were some other notions in here. Well, there were the needle stoppers. There were some from Bente of Arctic Crafts. There were some stitch markers from there, and the needle stoppers. She also gave me this very cool basket. So this basket comes flat with snaps, and she actually gave 2 more as prizes for the podcast. So they're going to be saved for prizes that we'll be doing in the upcoming months as part of the 2 make-alongs. So yeah, but you snap it together and you make a little basket where you can put your notions and little bits of yarn or whatever. So that was really cool. My son's getting ready for work and he's being very noisy. Sue also shared from her stash 3 skeins of Estelle Double Knit, which is a superwash yarn. And I've actually knit with this before. It's a 50% acrylic, 40% wool, and 10% nylon. And interestingly, there are some babies coming into my sphere, not into my close world, but I had my colleague, you saw the cardigan last time, and I had wanted to make him a little vest. So I thought a little gray vest would be awfully cute. So these were a great addition to my stash because I don't have yarn like this, and I don't have a lot of DK, and I certainly don't have single skeins of DK. So this is a great addition. And then my friend Jessie, who used to have Homebody Knits, the sock tube cranking service, this is so beautiful, and I cannot tell you how good this smells. It smells like a wonderfully clean sheep. It's so beautiful. So when I was going to Finland, Jess decided that she was going to spin with some Finn sheep wool, some Finn sheep fiber, while I was in Finland. And so this was spun on a vintage Ashford traditional plied on shaft ladybug, and it's 77 grams of Finnish fiber. And it's this beautiful, beautiful brown color. And I'm just so, it was so beautiful, and it's literally, I could smell this all day. It smells like the best sheepy smell I think I've ever smelled. It's like so beautiful. So it's wonderful. I've been thinking about what to make with this. It's not a large amount. She had suggested that perhaps a hat, but I actually thought about something to display, like maybe, not a doily, not a lace doily, but maybe just some sort of like a little pad or something to put things on. That's what I've been thinking of, because I think it would be nice to look at it. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. So thank you so much for that, Jess. It's just gorgeous. And then Jess and Donna are related. Donna of Roots and Rain, and we hang out together here and there. So Donna had gifted me this beautiful skein of a new base to her. So this is her Kindred base, and it's an 80% merino wool and 20% llama, and dyed with Eastern Brazil wood. And the base is a little bit of a gray yarn, so it's a bit more of a gray lavender compared to this. And I've been thinking about what to make with it. It's so beautiful. I'm really looking forward to knitting. It's got a lovely feel to it. So I haven't quite decided yet though what to make. I thought I could make a lovely hat for the winter. Probably even a hat and some mittens, or maybe just mittens. Thank you, Donna. It's really beautiful. All right, let's move on to some summer inspiration. It's still July, people. It's still July, so we've still got time for summer. Let's see, it's been a hot one here, definitely a hot one. As you know, we've had a lot of forest fires. We've also had some intense rain of late, which has been good in the sense that it's probably helped to kill the fires. We've also had some crazy flooding in Canada. Like the weather is definitely changing, and more intense things are happening. So does that mean that September will be cool, September will be warm, but there's still time to knit? And I had more things I want to share with you last time from non-Nordic designers. So here we go. The first one is the Kadaké by Emily Louise. Emily Louise is, I believe she's French designer, or she's in France anyway. And this is a beautiful tank, very classy looking. It is a DK weight, and the straps are made with cables. So, and it just looks like a lovely, lovely fit. It's got a V in the front as well as the back. I don't remember what she knitted in, but I thought this would be beautiful in a lovely cotton yarn, or even something like the Knitting for Olive silk held double. It's just a lovely, lovely design, and I thought, you know, you could wear that on its own or under a jacket. The straps are thick enough that they would hide your bra strap if that's something that bothers you. Just thought it was really lovely. As I said last time, there's a lot of mesh in summer patterns of late, and I really love that idea. I haven't gotten to it yet, but it's really great. And this is a pattern that I saw by Tatiana Matsiuk. She's out of the UK, and it is a sport weight pattern, and it's just a lovely V-neck sort of mesh summer top, and it's made out of sport weight, so it also could be nice in linen. I believe hers is in linen, and it's just a lovely, lovely pattern called the Flaxinet Tee. And I really quite like that. It's really up my alley, and let's see what happens if I ever make it. The next one I wanted to mention is actually by a viewer of the podcast. Silke Ufer from Germany has done different designs and has shared them with me. And this one is called the Venner. And it's just a lovely, I think I have a tendency to like this V-neck sort of drop shoulder look in the summer. I know I do, because I've knit my own, it's like my own design tops using that construction. So when I saw hers, I was just like, that's really lovely. It's knit and fingering weight, and it's just got a lovely textured pattern using knit and garter stitches, and it's just really lovely. I really like it. So congratulations on that pattern, Silke. It's really, really nice. And I've been eyeing it and thinking that could be nice with my knitting for olive blue silk. We'll see. Yeah, I've been really eyeing it a lot. So let's see. As I said, if I cast something on, I really don't know, but I'm itching to cast something on. The next one that I wanted to mention does not have a very attractive name. It's called the S11182 Isadora shirt. It's by Kate Studler, and it is knit flat, it is fingering, and it is intarsia. But it reminds me so much of the Unico design by Marimekko, which is the quintessential flower design by Marimekko. And I was like, this is really fun. I have not done intarsia in many, many years. And I remember finding intarsia to be kind of painful. I think I was a young adult when I did that. And I never finished that sweater. It was mohair. It was a mohair intarsia colorwork sweater. So maybe that's part of the problem. I kind of went a little nutso, and it had multiple colors in it. So this is a much simpler top, and I really quite like it. So we'll see if that ends up happening perhaps for next summer. I also don't have the yarn for it. When I was looking through my stash, I was like, I don't really have anything for it. So we'll see if I find something. I think the cotton cashmere could be a really nice one. The one that's in the pattern is a little bit tweedy, which adds a little bit of a different kind of dimension to it. So yeah, it hasn't gotten beyond my just liking the pattern and really into like what would I actually use for it. But I really like this one a lot. This next one is another mesh one that I find really interesting. It's by Yumiko Alexander, and it is both a cardigan or a pullover. I think you can either have it all together. I believe it's knit kind of like in two parts. I haven't looked at how the notes much to know about the construction. It's called the Helix, and it is knit out of I think it's the Dando linen, which is a worsted weight linen. So that would be quite heavy, unless, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's really heavy, but it's just kind of a neat top. And becomes sort of like this type of thing where it's completely transparent. It's in the mesh family, and just something a little different. I thought it was a really interesting pattern, and I've looked at it multiple times this season. Another one that I think is just lovely by Jennifer Beale is called the Duntara. And this is something you don't see in summer knitting, is color work made with linen. In this case, what is it called? Quince & Company Sparrow, which is kind of a fingering, heavy fingering, I would say. I think it could be used as a sport a little bit, but here she's using it for both lace and color work. And I'm quite intrigued by that in a way. I wouldn't mind even just swatching to see what making color work with linen would be like. I do have some Sparrow in one color in my stash, so it could definitely be used for that. So let's see, but I'm really intrigued by this one. It's lovely. I've seen some nice versions of it as well on Ravelry. Two more. Both patterns that I have. One is the Rota vest, which is a vest, or I would say vest also used as like a summer top, by Irene Lynn. And this is just stunning. And it was actually Caitlin of the Caddy Jacks podcast who had made a version of this that made me really want to make it. I had already favorited the pattern, but then when I saw her version, I was like, that's really stunning. So, and she'd made it a nice, I think kind of a rust color, if I remember correctly. So yeah, a beautiful, beautiful pattern that could be both a vest in the winter or it could be a summer top. It could really fulfill both of those functions quite nicely. The last one, and I think it was knit, I think it was knit in a cotton or a cotton combination of something. The last one is a pattern that's been around, that's been knit a lot, and I would really like to make it in some of the Lang Lino. I have in other colorways, which was the yarn that I used in my Tolsta, this peachy yarn here, which is a worsted weight chainette cotton, and I have it in an orange color, and I have it in a navy blue. So I think I'd like to make it in the navy blue, not the navy blue, in the orange, actually. I think the Deschênes in an orange could be a lot of fun. The navy blue I've actually been saving for the Flex by, oh my gosh, who was it now? I always get that one, by Ankestrick. Yes, the Flex by Ankestrick, which I mentioned to you last time was a sweater that I'd like to make again. And I think I'd like to make it in the navy blue. I think that would be really nice. It's quite a deep navy blue, and make the Deschênes in the orange. Yeah, but that's a pattern that's been made by a lot of people. And actually, again, Caitlin of the Caddy Jacks Knit podcast had made it as a short-sleeved top. She did not do the sleeves on it. And I was like, oh, I actually like that more. And it never had occurred to me to not do the sleeves. So I think I would make it with the idea that I'm, might decide as I go along whether I wanted to do the sleeves or not. But I do think I like the idea of it being more of a drop shoulder t-shirt than anything. Yeah, so those were the other mentions that I wanted to bring up today that I hadn't talked to you about last time. Now let's go on to the Nordic inspiration. There are so many beautiful Nordic patterns, so we've got a lot that we could talk about, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about my short list at this point of things that I really would like to make, some of which are finally make, and some of which are, ooh, yes. So let's start with one that I already have as a whip, because whips are welcome in the LBK Nordic KAL. And actually, there's a lot that's Nordic about this. The project bag was made by Annina from the Anni Juti Knits podcast, and lovely designer and lovely person. And I had gotten this beautiful wool, you'll recall. So this is gonna be one of the first things that I do is finish this sweater. I love this yarn. I truly enjoy knitting with this yarn. It's very enjoyable knit. And so the pattern is not a Nordic designer. The pattern is Andrea Mowry, who's American. But I'm making it in this Finnish yarn that I got when I was there in April, called Saye Wool. And this is her wool linen base in a DK, which is 70% wool and 30% linen. And I finished the body, so I really just need to get the sleeves done. And I put it aside because I wanted to focus on more summery knits, but this will be a nice fall sweater, and I'm going to be curious to see what it's like to wear it in the winter as well. But oh my goodness, I'm excited. I just like even looking at myself in the camera like this. It just looks really lovely. So that's one thing that I really want to make using Finnish yarn. So that would qualify for a Nordic KAL, or the Nordic KAL. The other thing that I would like to make is from the Line magazine. This was summer 2021, and that is the Lento sweater. Lento Unfortunately, I remember when it first came out and the pictures in here, I was like, why are people getting excited about that? It's a lovely, also basic raglan sweater, knit at a loose gauge. Let's see if I think the gauge is like 16 stitches or something like that. And it's the pictures in here, they chose a dark yarn and you just couldn't quite see what the sweater was really about. But there are so many basic, lovely, not basic, but just lovely versions of this very basic sweater. It's a little bit of a blank canvas as well. And I've seen so many versions that when I'm thinking about a basic raglan sweater, I'm like, ooh, the lento, ooh, the lento. So I will be making this. Now I have different options. I had gotten some yarn in Belgium, you may recall, called La Fée Fil, a beautiful yarn. And I thought of pairing that with a mohair and making the lento. So that's one option. The other option is some of this bright pink yarn that Jana gave me, Jana of Ketunits, and she just finished herself a lento in the bright pink yarn as well. And I was like, that's really fun. So I might keep that one as another option, like as a next future version of a lento, but I really liked how she used that yarn in the lento. And then the other option, and probably my first option, is making it in Nutiden, which is a lovely unspun yarn from Sweden. So it would be a double Nordic. It would be a Nordic pattern and Nordic yarn. And I think I would probably double strand it with some mohair. I liked my koryame that I made last year with a strand of Nutiden and a strand of mohair, and I just love the fabric of that. So the Nutiden that I have, I can't remember the colorway, but it's a pale pink, and it's really beautiful. So I think that's the one I'm going to make. So that's another one that I would like to make. There's this beautiful book, Contrasts, by Mayu KP, and it's by Line Publishing. And there are some stunning patterns in here. Very inspiring book with just like this cardigan is stunning. But the sweater that is calling me is this one. This is called the Pearly Beach, and it's knit in a fingering weight yarn. I have some yarn by, I think it's Kettle Yarns in their Bayol base, in a deeper gray than that, and I would very much like to have that. And recently on the Knitty Stew, she had asked the question of what do you want to knit by the end of the year? And I said, I want to have this sweater by the end of the year, the Pearly Beach. So I am committed, and this may be one of my first cast on so that I finish it before 2023. I also have this yarn. So I just have a partial skein here. This is the Hillesvåg Sölje, and I used the rest of this skein as part of my new sweater by Suvi Simula. It was part of the color work up here. And I had thought about making the Ver by Gudrun Johnson, which is a fitted sweater with color work on it. And I realized I don't think I want this to be next to my skin in a whole sweater. It's a bit rustic. And so I don't know what I'm going to make with it. This is a Norwegian yarn, and I have 3 other skeins of it, and I would like to make a cardigan of sorts. And the reason I want to make a cardigan is because I have these lovely buttons. When I was in Montreal for Knit City Montreal with Mel and Meka, we went to that wonderful button shop that I've told you about before, and I ended up getting these fabulous buttons. They're Italian, and they were the last ones that she had. In fact, I think I left 1 in the box. Can't remember how many I got. I think I got 6. And I thought, these would go really, really, really nicely with the soulier. So I haven't chosen a pattern yet, but I would very much like to make a cardigan and have these buttons there with it. So that's another plan that I have for the Nordic KAL. And then there are two more patterns. I showed you when I came back from Montreal, from the Knit City Montreal, I showed you the Sonder Sunday morning 4-ply that I got in a kind of a nice bright green. And so that's Canadian yarn, not Nordic. But I have some Hillesvåg Vilje, which is another fingering base, also by Hillesvåg. And I would like to stripe it with the Sonder and make the simple stripe pullover from Pearl Soho. Now the Pearl Soho pattern is meant to be a DK pattern, so I'll be adapting it for fingering. And I'll probably do it, I haven't quite decided, but I'll probably make it a slightly looser gauge so that it's a bit of an airy sweater. And it is a micro stripe, so it's a 1x1 stripe. And yeah, so it'll be Nordic because of the yarn that I'll use for that. And then the last one that is calling me is the Naturligvis. This is a cardigan pattern by Lone Kjeldsen, who's a Danish designer, I believe. And she has the pattern as a double-stranded pattern. So it's, I believe it's 2 fingering weight yarns that create kind of an 18 stitch gauge in a bit of a broken rib type pattern. And I really like this cardigan a lot. And I've been thinking about holding together a light gray and an oatmeal yarn. So I've got Holst yarn in oatmeal, and I've got, oh my gosh, what's that company called in the UK that everybody talks about all the time now that I can't remember? Woolly Knit, there we go. I've got a cone of Woolly Knit in a light gray, and I thought the oatmeal and the gray, I'm going to swatch them and see how I like it. And if it works well, I would very much like to make the Naturligvis. If it doesn't, then I don't really have another backup idea at this point, so I might postpone that, but I really like that cardigan a lot. So if I were to make all of these things, I've mentioned 6 patterns, I'd have 2 cardigans and 4 sweaters out of that. So that is my plans for the Nordic KAL. One little item from Podcast Corner, which I haven't mentioned in a long time, but I've really enjoyed a podcast by Teti Lutzak. Teti Lutzak is a Ukrainian designer who lives in Holland, and she has beautiful designs. You have definitely seen some of her designs, such as the Florarium, and I can't remember some of the names. They're always really interesting names. She just does beautiful colorwork patterns in earthy colors, in yarns such as Nutiden, and she has a podcast under her name, Teti Lutzak, and I really enjoy her sensibility and her sharing in her podcast. So I just wanted to mention that in case you haven't seen hers. I'm having a lot of problems with my phone today, so let's see if we can wrap this up. I don't know why, it's just keeps telling me I have to manage my storage, and then I go and get rid of stuff, and then it tells me it again. So anyway, maybe it's time for a new phone. I don't know. The last month. Let me tell you about the last month. So one of the great things of the last month was the trip to Kingston. My family and I did it. It was one night. It was short and sweet, but it was lovely. Kingston's a beautiful town, actually, on the waterfront, on the Lake Ontario. There are people actually swimming like in downtown Kingston, which is kind of cool. And we went to the Kingston Penitentiary for a tour, which was very interesting. And also did a little boat tour on the Thousand Islands and had a lovely dinner in Kingston. And it was very, very nice, actually. It was short, and I wouldn't mind going back again at some point. I also went to my friend's cottage for our yearly trip. We always go the weekend after July first weekend, and we had a very nice time. Unfortunately, my mother being in the hospital at the time, I was actually really stressed, so I had a hard time relaxing, and I had to organize people to go in and see her and stuff. But it was still really nice. I would never ever miss out on being at her cottage, and we had a really nice time. So my mother is now out of the hospital. She was in the hospital for a full month and a couple of days. It was a very frustrating experience. I'm still having to deal with trying to put care in place. And so it's been an emotional and frustrating time dealing with the hospitals, doing the right thing, wondering if I've done the right thing. It's been a tough month, really tough. And I've gotten very, very tired. So I've been off for the last, I was off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because I was actually supposed to go glamping and camping, and I canceled that. And I'm feeling slightly more refreshed today, which is why you're seeing me. And I'm glad to be here because I've been wanting to podcast. I actually wanted to podcast last weekend, and then I just realized I did not have the energy for it. So I waited, and I wanted to podcast yesterday. I thought I just don't have the energy. But this morning I woke up and I was like, today is podcast day. So here I am, but it's going to continue. Her dementia has advanced such that just being in a bed like that for a month was just detrimental to her physicality, more than her cognition. Her cognition has declined slightly, but not a lot. It seemed to have declined when she was in the hospital, but now that she's back in the retirement home, in the assisted living facility where she is, she seems to be mostly back where she was, maybe a tiny bit down, but not significant. But what is significant is the fact that she went from using a walker to needing a physical lift to get her out of bed into a wheelchair. And yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated with that. So I'm trying to get physiotherapy for her because I think what they provided in the hospital was just not sufficient. So yeah, so that's a continuing saga, as is my arms, and just trying to heal my arms. Some things have really changed, like my rotation now is pretty much normal. My bending is close to normal. This direction is still where there's some work to be done. So getting there, and having some treatments for the repetitive strain as well. So I actually knit quite a bit on the Tolsta last night, and I woke up this morning with sort of the same level of pain that I normally do. So that was a good thing. Yeah, it's slowly improving. So there you go. I've also seen some movies, and I've seen 3 movies in 1 month, which is kind of amazing, in addition to watching Crazy Stupid Love last night. But I've actually been to the movies 3 times, like the actual cinema. I went to see the Indiana Jones movie, which was really fun. It was just fun. And I mean, it was fun. I would say that, there was some really traditional, quintessential Indiana Jones stuff. It included Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which was a fun addition. And I think they pulled it off. It was a little bit more fantastical than perhaps previous ones were. I don't know about that, really. It was good, though. I really enjoyed it. And I thought the computer-generated youthifying of the 2 actors, Harrison Ford and Mads Mikkelsen, I believe is his name, they did a really good job. I thought that was extremely well done. Yeah, so there's that. I also went to see a movie called The Miracle Club it's got Kathy Bates and Maggie Smith, and her name's not coming to me right now, but it's a lovely story set in Ireland and in the tenements of, I can't remember exactly where, and these women who take some of their children and they go to Lourdes in France looking for a miracle. And they find different things along the way. It's a very heartwarming movie, very touching, comical too at times. Laura Linney, that was the other actress, Laura Linney. Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. Definitely one that will pull at your heartstrings for sure. But a lovely, well-told story with great acting and lots of funny moments. And the last one I saw was the Barbie movie. I cannot believe I went to see the Barbie movie. But the reason I went to see the Barbie movie was that it's directed by Greta Gerwig, who does great work. And I'm actually really glad I saw it. This is one of the few times in the last several years that I've gone to a cinema, not on opening night, and that we had a hard time getting tickets. So very popular and lots of people wearing pink. And I just thought it was a really great take. I wished we ended up getting tickets in the third row, and I wish we'd been able to get tickets further back because it was such a visually rich film that I felt like the screen was too big and I wasn't able to take it all in. I also thought the story was just really interesting, actually, and really questioning the role of gender and how we've created our societies around it, and how our identification with gender can end up getting in the way of being our authentic selves. I thought it was a really interesting movie, actually. And it was fun. It was very fun, that's for sure. I think Greta Gerwig did a great job. So yeah, so those are the good things from the last month as well. My phone continues to do glitchy things, so I am going to stop here before I end up having to abandon ship completely. And we'll see you next time with a finished Tolsta for sure, and who knows what else. Take care until then. Bye-bye.
There's a lot of colors, I don't know where to go. See a lot of colors, only feeling blue. There's a lot of colors, lost within a haze. Don't rely on others to get you through the maze. The dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea, cannot take this anymore. There are a lot of voices drowning in the sea. There's too many voices talking back at me. There are a lot of choices waiting to be made. Too many choices making me afraid. Dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea, cannot take this anymore. The dreams are not the same for me. Standing cannot take this anymore.